Hello and welcome. My name is Lexi and here I like to talk about luxury beauty. Today we are talking about one of my favorite brands, SUQQU. So the SUQQU Pre-Holiday collection launched at Selfridges and is launching now at Harrods and Liberty London. It is not going to be available at Cult Beauty this year. So if you are interested in purchasing any of the items from Pre-Holiday, you've got Selfridges. I will leave the email address if you'd like to order from the counter sometimes. If something's out of stock online, you can order it from the counter. There is free shipping from the counter for a couple of weeks surrounding the launch. And that is going to be over, I believe, 150 pounds. And then Harrods and Liberty London. Now, Liberty London, just so you know, if you order from them, the prices that you see for the items, that is all inclusive. So that includes any shipping fees or VAT, anything that might need to be added onto your total is already taken into account in the dollar amount that you see there on the screen. And if you are somebody who has been unable to purchase SUQQU recently and get it delivered to your country, definitely check again because I believe Liberty has opened up some new additional shipping countries. So definitely check that out. And, it's always great to double check all of the retailers because these things do change. So let's go ahead and talk about the collection. I have the entire collection for pre-holiday. I am so excited. I did get a few items in PR, so I'll show you which ones those are, but I purchased the majority of the collection myself. Let's go ahead and swatch everything. We have two eyeshadow quads. By the way, everything in this pre-holiday collection is limited edition. This is the first one, 118. Everything in this pre-holiday collection is inspired by Aurora Borealis, and not even just necessarily what you see there, but also, the whole concept of being out at night and lanterns, lighting the skin, and so forth. So this quad here, this is 118, and this is meant to represent the stars, the shimmering stars that you see in the sky in the Aurora Borealis. The other quad, and these are just dark because I use them wet, so just ignore that, but this is 119, and this one here, you've got more like shimmering blues and purples, and these are going to be more colors that you would see in the night sky with the Aurora Borealis. You can see this first shade here is going to be a very soft blue topper shade, then we have a very pale lavender. This third shade here is kind of like a slate blue with some shimmer. And then we have a cool tone brown. Now in the first palette, 118, you can see everything here is much warmer. So we have kind of this beige it's like a peachy beige. There's definitely a little bit of a peachy orange in there. We have a bright yellow. This is going to be matte. This is actually going to be a soft warm pink with some shimmer. And then we have a warm brown that has just a touch of clay in it. So these are the two eyeshadow quads. We also have two Pure Color blushes. The Pure Color blush formula is one that's very soft and ethereal on the skin, so it's not going to be super pigmented. It's going to give you a very soft wash. You can see there are three shades in here. This is your primary blush shade. The yellow can be used like as a corrector. It can also be used, in addition with a highlight. This last shade here is a highlight. It's more of a champagne. So let's swatch each of these individually, and then we will swatch them all together. So you can kind of see them. Let's do these vertically so you can kind of see that. So those are the three shades. You can see that this highlight shade is very close to my skin tone here. It's a very soft ivory. This yellow does have a bit of a satin finish. And then we have a very pale, kind of like a warm brown. So mixing them together, let's put this right here. And you can see how you're going to get more of this yellow with a touch of brown. The yellow is definitely a very prominent shade in this, and this is very light, so it's something that's great to mix with other things. It's also something to add just a little bit of color. This particular palette was intended to give you a look on your skin as though it was lit by lantern light. The other Pure Color blush, 135, this one's going to be a bit more pigmented. You can see we've got this gorgeous dark berry blush shade. We have this light blue and a light lavender here. And again, you can use these shades as correctors. You can also use these like under the eyes as like a color corrector and so forth as well. or as a highlight. So let's go ahead and take a look at each of these here. And the primary shade here is definitely going to be your berry. And you can see how light the blue and the lavender are. The lavender doesn't really show up on my skin too well. And then mixing them all together, look at this color. Isn't that gorgeous? You're going to get kind of this more like iridescent berry. You see a bit more of that blue then. So the blue and purple really come out more when you see them like, you know, mixed in, or, you know, they work well as a highlight. And I'll show you that in the demos as well. So really beautiful pure color blushes. Next, we have two Glow Touch eyes. I know when you see these at first, they look like they are lip glosses, but they're not. They're for the eyes. These are called Glow Touch eyes. And we have number 109 and 110. This formula has been out in the past, but it's only available as limited edition items. I've never seen this permanently, but these are kind of like the Danessa Myricks Chrome Flakes, but a bit more subtle. So let's go ahead and swatch these. But first I wanted to show you this packaging. Notice it's kind of an ombre like frostedness. So it's more frosted up here and goes to like that clear plastic down here at the bottom. So 109 is going to be our blue shade. We're going to put this on my hand. And you can see you've got kind of this doe foot applicator, and look at that. So these are stunning. I have this actually sparingly on the lids right now, and a little bit of the pink one on my lips. I don't actually know if they're lip safe, but you know, I couldn't resist. So we've got this pale icy blue with a little bit of pink pearlescence, and then kind of this like pearly pale pink. I think these are stunning. Then we also have an eyeliner. This is the Nuance eyeliner in 107. I have to say I love this. It's kind of like, it's supposed to be more like snow. To me, it's actually more like, I guess more like a dirty snow, because you've got a little bit of that blue and gray mixed in there. It's a snow gray shade. And I think it's beautiful. I've been wearing this one a lot. I just love the accent it gives. And you can pair this with like a deeper eyeliner. You can mix it. You can use these on the lid as, you know, eyeshadow and so forth. Their applicator, I think, is one of the best. I think the SUQQU liquid eyeliners are definitely one of the best ones to use. They don't gunk up like some other brands. I think they're just fantastic. They're one of my favorites. And then we have two sheer matte lipsticks. Now remember, if you order a sheer matte lipstick, it's going to come with this clear cap. You have to actually purchase a full-size lid separately if you want it. However, these are sufficient. You don't need to get an additional lid if you don't want to. If you want the lid, this is what it looks like. You can see you've got the SUQQU here. You can just take that off and then snap that on. All right, so 113. This is going to be a deep red. It's described as a blood red. You can see there's a little bit of berry in there. And, you know, it's going to be definitely warmer than the other one, but it's not a totally cool tone. There is a little bit of warmth in there. It actually reminds me, when you pair this with the blues, it makes me think of Snow White. So anyway, moving on, we have 114. And on my lips right now, I have the two of these mixed together. So 114 is going to be more of a berry, and you can see here that it goes very well with the berry blush. They're going to be very similar in tone. So let's talk a bit about these formulas while we look at some demos. Let's start off with the eye products. We're going to start off with the eyeshadow quads. And I have to say, I really like both of these quads. However, for me personally, my preference is going to be the 119, the cooler tone quad. I love blues and purples and so forth. So this light blue and this lavender are gorgeous. They are very light though. You definitely get a lot of pigment with these bottom two shades in the quartet. This kind of like slate blue has like a touch of teal in there. The shimmer in here is actually going to be blue and kind of this like champagne white with some gold reflex in there as well. It's really stunning. It really does make me think of like kind of that, not necessarily as deep as a midnight sky, but kind of that twilight shade with all these shimmering stars in it. And then the cool tone brown, you know, it's a nice, rich, deep brown, kind of like what you would see on a tree trunk as the sun is setting, you know, when it gets kind of that more brownish gray look to it, you know, when you've got shadow cast on there. So that's kind of what it makes me think of. I think this quad in particular is stunning. It's definitely, you know, well worth it to me. However, just note that the light blue, the first shade, is a topper. So very, very beautiful. You can see I used this quad wet and dry because these colors are very light. I wanted to see how deep we could get them. And you can see that these shades can definitely be much more pigmented if you use them wet. It does not affect the shadow at all to use these wet. So definitely a great option. It gives you a lot of versatility with this palette. Now, as for the 118 palette, this actually reminds me, I know it's supposed to represent like the shimmering stars and so forth, but it really, to me, looks more like a summer palette. To me, it seems more like a sunset. So you have kind of those like warm toned browns. You got some peach and some yellow and some pink in there. So it just makes me think of the sun setting. And you've got all of these beautiful shimmers in there, and it just makes me kind of think of the sun setting over water with when you see like the shimmering reflections and so forth. So although it's supposed to be Aurora Borealis, that's what this particular palette reminds me of. I think it's a gorgeous set of warms. And I have to say, I really, really love this first shade in this palette, this warm brown, and the shimmer in here, the actual glitter pieces, they're like multicolored. And I think that really gives it a different aspect than others. So although the base shade may be similar to others, the shimmer in here gives it a different effect on the eyes. And I think it just adds something special. So that would be my favorite shade in this palette. I just think it is stunning. And by the way, this yellow here is a very bold yellow. It is definitely something you can also use as a color corrector on parts of your face. If you are looking for one like that, just note that it does have a satin sheen and it can definitely help give things a golden glow underneath as well. So if you have a particular like cooler tone blush or something, you want to warm it up or give it a little touch of gold, put this on underneath and that will help bring out a little bit of warmth without necessarily adding shimmer like a highlighter would. Now, as you can see, I also played around with the Glow Touch eyes. And when you swatch these, you can see the color is really kind of built up right where you put it. Putting it on that way onto the lid and getting it kind of built up to that level, I find to be just a little bit difficult. It really shears out very easily and you kind of want to let that dry and layer it. And I feel like these really act a lot like the Danessa Myricks Chrome Flakes. However, the Danessa Myricks Chrome Flakes have larger particles, so it's going to be a little bit chunkier. And I feel like her base, the gel base that they're in, is just, it's a little bit easier to gather it all and get a more opaque appearance with the Chrome Flakes than it is with the SUQQU Glow Touch eyes. These are definitely more subtle, and if you put these on lightly like I did with today's application, it really looks more like scattered starlight, although colored. So you can get kind of that type of shimmer on it, or you can build this up. I would recommend if you're building it up, I found it easier to build up with a flat brush. So if you use a flat brush and you kind of pack this on, let it dry, add a couple of layers. If you put a very thick layer on and you let that dry, that's just going to end up being like a creasy mess and it's going to kind of shift around. It's going to take too long for a thick layer to dry at once. So you're better off doing thinner layers and just, you know, building from there. But I really like these. I think the colors in here are beautiful. Between the two of them, you know, it's hard to pick a favorite. I personally really like this pink one on my lips. Again, I don't know for sure that it's lip safe, but I felt okay using it there. So I love the effect that it gives. It's just like you don't really see it necessarily straight on if you just use a little bit, but when you turn, you get just a little bit of that, you know, light reflection there. And it's just a little like, what, did I see that? And then the blue one I really love on my eyes. I think it's really beautiful. This is something, well, these are ones you can use kind of as a liquid eyeliner, but if you are going to use them as a liquid eyeliner, you're going to have to go over them a few times just because, you know, again, it is a product with like flakes in there. So if you want to see like a solid line, you're going to need to pack that on appropriately. So overall, these are a nice product, but I have to say they're not a must-have for me. Now, moving on to the eyeliner, the SUQQU Nuance Eyeliner in 107. I have to say, I absolutely love this. You know, when I saw it, I was like, oh, it's light colored. I don't know if I'd really wear it. It might be too shocking. I love it. It's amazing. This is one of my favorite products in this collection. I have to say SUQQU liquid eyeliners, as I mentioned during the swatches, these are one of my favorite formulas. I think these are one of the easiest ones to apply. I'm terrible with liquid eyeliner. I freely admit that. And I find these to be much easier to use. One of the great things about these also is these are a felt tip applicator. So even when you use this day after day after day, you know, a lot of times those felt tip applicators, they kind of pick up some of the product they're going over and they gunk up. They don't go on smoothly for your application as the product gets older. I have not experienced that with any of the SUQQU liners, and I've used them a lot. So I really love these. So I think these are definitely some of the best liquid liners on the market. If you're looking for some other ones that I really love, the UZ or Unframe the Beauty, those are a great formula as well. And I have to say, I've really been enjoying the new Dior liquid eyeliners as well. I haven't worn those enough to say, you know, how wonderful they are in comparison to these two, but the SUQQU and the UZ are my favorites. The UZ actually uses a brush, whereas this would be a felt tip applicator. Moving on to the blushes, SUQQU has two different blush formulas. There are the pure color blushes like these two, and these are always going to be kind of like an ombre product or something with multiple shades in there. So this one's not actually a true ombre, but they do have some like that in the pure color line. And then we also have the melting color blushes, which are going to be your more pigmented. It's a gel powder kind of formula, and those definitely get a lot deeper. So if you're looking for something with a lot of color, you probably want to go with those. But if you're looking for, you know, more of that light wash, that's what this formula is for. It goes on very softly. It's very silky on the skin, very light. And as I mentioned, 134, this one is meant to make your skin look as though it's kissed by lantern light. So it's going to give you a very light, soft, kind of golden beige type kind of glow to your skin. And, you know, you could mix this with some bronzer, like put bronzer on, then put this, you know, slightly above it. That would be a very beautiful look. But this is not going to be super pigmented. So just so you know, this one is going to be the lighter of the two. And again, it's supposed to make your skin just look kissed by the light. So you're not going to get a ton of color. I do think it's really beautiful. And today I used this towards the back of my cheekbone. And then I used the berry blush more towards the forefront and kind of mixed these two a little bit. I just wanted to see how they play together. The 135 blush with this berry is my favorite. I absolutely love this. You know, it's a very intense color. This is one that you can actually build up to get more pigmented. If you use a more dense brush with either of these, you're definitely going to get more pigmentation. With today's application, I used the Refer 04, which is an angled cheek brush. Something like that is going to give you a little bit more pigmentation because you have those shorter hairs, which will imply more density. They'll behave as though it's a denser brush in that area, but then the longer hairs are going to be a little bit looser and fluffier so you can get that soft wash. So it's kind of the best of both worlds, but the denser the brush, the more pigmentation you'll pick up with these. And I have to say this berry shade is gorgeous. I absolutely love it. I love the purple and the blue in there. One thing I do want to comment on is the color is going to be great for certain skin tones, but when you mix that blue and the purple in with it, it can create more of a bruised look on certain skin tones. So definitely, you know, keep that in mind if you are somebody where the blues and the purples really don't go so well. Either just use the berry on itself or pass on that particular blush. But I think it's absolutely stunning and it matches the lipstick. So let's move on to those. So the sheer matte lipsticks are going to be one of those buildable velvet style lipsticks. You can pat this on very softly, and in the last lip demo, you'll see me patting on the two colors to mix them and get a light application. But you can pat these on and get something very sheer, kind of that blurred out lip look, or you can build this up and get something a little bit more, you know, intense and something a little bit more moody. This first shade is going to be a red. There's like kind of a mix in here. You've got some blue undertones in here, but you have some warmer brick-like overtones in here. So it mixes out. It ends up leaning, it looks like it might lean warm. It's actually going to lean slightly cool though. So, you know, depending on your skin tone, this red can look a little different. On some, it's going to look a little bit cooler, and some it's going to look a little bit warmer, but you're still kind of close to that neutral range there. And then number 114, which is this berry shade. Again, it's very much like the blush. There's gonna be some plum in here. It's kind of like a red plum. And so if you're thinking of like an actual red juicy plum, it's like that with a touch more purple in it. And I think this is a really beautiful shade. And I have to say, I really like these. I don't think I have anything like this berry shade in my collection. So that one's definitely my favorite. So let's go over a few comparisons. We're going to just start off with the eyeliners because, you know, it's right here. So we've got one of the SUQQU Nuance Liners in 3. This is a permanent shade. This is the gray. So I wanted to show you how much darker the gray is. This is one of my most used liquid liners. I love this shade. I use this one a lot, and I think it's fantastic. Then I want to compare this to a couple of silver liners. This is the Byredo in Chantecaille, and this came out last year. So you can see that the silver is more metallic. It doesn't have quite as much blue. And then we have the Jones Road, which I used on the lower lash line today. And you can see color-wise, they're going to be similar, but again, this is going to have more blue. It doesn't have any shimmer or metallic finish like these two do. But those were kind of my closest comparisons with that. Now, this is a Danessa Myricks Chrome Flakes. I wouldn't say that I have any colors quite like, you know, the ones in the SUQQU, but I did want to show you what the Chrome Flakes kind of look like. So you can see, you know, how much more opaque these can be. Even when you kind of dab them on, you can get them very light like this, but you can get them definitely much more metallic, opaque appearance than the SUQQU. This shade here is Shooting Star. It kind of blends these two colors together, but these are all more like multi-chromatic than the SUQQU. The SUQQU is definitely going to be more subtle, a little bit more sophisticated, whereas the Danessa Myricks are a little bit more fun. This is one of the SUQQU Sheer Mattes in 03. I'm just going to put a little bit of this right down here, but this is a permanent shade, and this is my closest to shade 113. So you can see that 03 is going to be a little bit warmer, but they are fairly close. So a slightly warmer version in the 03. Now my closest match for 114 would be number 14 from the Givenchy Deep Velvet line. I'm gonna put this right here. Oh, actually, I put it here, but let me put it right over here. This is going to be Rose Boisé, and I really love both of these. You can see that they are similar, but not quite the same. This is going to be a little bit lighter. It also has a little bit more purple, whereas there's more pink in the Givenchy. I think they're gorgeous. They're going to be slightly different though on the lips. So we're not going to do a ton of eyeshadow comparisons. This is 118 from Pre-Holiday, this one here. And this is 07. And this one here is going to be one of the permanent quads. So this is kind of my closest match. Let's just take a look at these. So you definitely have some key differences with this. We're going to put these right here. But the main shades that are going to be similar are going to be this yellow and pink, these first two shades here. And you can see that the pinks are fairly similar. This has a little bit more brown, but they're pretty close. The yellow is kind of a softer, shinier version of the satin yellow here. And then obviously we've got a gray and more of a burgundy. This actually looks a lot like the 113 lipstick, but those aren't going to match the rest of the palette. Okay, and then 119 from Pre-Holiday with 11, which is one of the newer permanent palettes. Again, this is going to be my closest, but it's really not going to be, you know, they're not dupes. So, but it's a permanent option. So if you miss out on this, you can see we've got kind of that light topper shade. We have this blue. This is going to be kind of similar in color, but this has a little teal and it has some shimmer. Then you have kind of this berry shade instead of the lavender. And then this shade here is going to have a bit more gray, but that's going to be pretty comparable. So these two are fairly close matches. Next, we have the Chantecaille Black Jaguar. We're just going to take a look at the light blue and the deep blue here. And you can see already that this deep blue is not going to match. I'm going to put that all the way over here just so you can see how different that is. But let's put the light blue right up here so you can kind of see how that goes. They're going to be pretty close. I mean, it's going to be a topper. The blue shade is going to be a little bit more of an intense blue in the Chantecaille versus a paler shade of blue in the SUQQU, but they're both very light on the eyes, so it's not going to look super different. However, the Chantecaille, you can get a little bit frostier of a look with that particular formula. And then I had some requests to take a look at some of the blue shades in the Gucci 02 Flora palette. So we're going to look at this blue here. So these two, well, might as well add the purple too, because it's a purpley blue. I just absolutely love these three shades here. So we're going to put these right here by the side. And you can see how much more intense these are. But when you build them up and use these wet, you can get a similar color to this one. But this is going to be more teal. This is going to be more of a royal blue here. So they don't really match. All right, now taking a look at this is 135 from Pre-Holiday, and this is the permanent melting color blush in 01. So I wanted to compare this purple and blue shade in here with the 01. So, oops, I'm gonna be putting this on my other arm. All right, so here's the blue and the purple. I've got a bunch of lines on my arm right now, so we'll put these right here. So you can see the blue, the purple, again, doesn't really show up super well on me. And then the 01 here, I mean, you can see already that this formula is more intense, but here is the shade. You can see that this is going to be kind of like the blue and the purple mixed together. Let me show you those. All right, so here's the blue and the purple mixed together. You can see when you mix them together, the blue's just a little bit, it's a little bit more blue than what you have here. And it's also going to be softer. You're just not going to build it up to as much color as you will with the color melting blush formula. But you can see that that's going to be fairly similar. And I have to say, I absolutely love using this as a base shade, mixing it with some blushes that I want a little bit of a cooler vibe with. So I think it's a really great mixer, and it's kind of cool on its own as well. But you know, it's really intended more for a mixer. Looking at the 134, we're going to look at this blush shade with 04 from the Melting collection. All right, so here is the one from 135, and you can see that it's got a sheen to it. And then here is 04. You can see it's going to be peachier. There's more orange in it. It's going to be much brighter, and it's more of a coral. This is the number 5 from the Melting Color Blush. So let's see how this compares. This is going to be more of a yellowy shade. Again, you can see it's much more vibrant. And again, it's going to have more orange in it. And last up, this is the Melting Powder Highlighter in 101. This was limited edition, and it is a stunning highlight. We're going to kind of compare this to mixing them all together in the 135. So that's this one here. Just gonna mix these together. Again, you can see a lot more of that yellow, but you can see that the melting powder highlight is gonna be much more orange, more copper. It's actually more of a copper. So I hope all of those comparisons were helpful. Again, the collection is available at Selfridges, Harrods, and Liberty London. So definitely check there if you're interested in any of these items. I think it's an absolutely stunning collection. I love it. For me in particular, my favorites would be the cooler tone ones. So I love the 119 eyeshadow quad. I love the blush in, what was that, 134? Oh, I'm sorry, 135. I think I kept saying 135 for the other one before, but I love this 134, and I like the Glow Touch eyes. I don't find them to be a must-have. The Nuance eyeliner in 107 is amazing, and my favorite of the lipsticks is the 114. So overall, I have to say it's a great collection. I'm happy that I picked up all of it, and the items, just for clarification, that I got in PR were the blush in 135, the Glow Touch eyes in 110, and the lipstick in 114, the berry one. So I purchased everything else, but those were PR items. And thank you so much, SUQQU, for sending those items to me. I truly appreciate it. And I hope all of you enjoyed this video. Thank you so much for watching. Please let me know what you think of the collection down below in the comments. And we have SUQQU Holiday coming up very soon as well. So definitely, if you're not following me on Instagram, definitely follow me there. That's why I give all the updates and we look at the previews and so forth. So don't miss out on those. I'm at Alexis Jong on Instagram. So check that out and I'll see you very soon. Thank you so much for watching and happy shopping. Have a wonderful day.